Yep. Good morning, everyone. So, yesterday we learned about TypeScript. In TypeScript, how to use templates. Templates, contracts, and components. These are three important concepts. So, contracts are interfaces, templates are abstract classes, and components are classes. These are three things you learned. Yesterday we discussed about what is template and how templates are designed, in which situation we use templates, all these points we learned. So contracts are what? Technically they are interfaces. Templates are what? Abstract classes. And components are what? Class. These are the three important concepts of OOP we learned. Now today we need to understand another. In TypeScript, we are going to learn about generics. We are going to understand about generics. What are generics and how these generics going to work? So what is the concept of generic is? Technically, generic is used for to configure, it is used to configure type safe. We call type safe. Generic is used to configure type safe component or property. It is used to configure a type safe component or property. That is the purpose of generics actually. In programming languages, generic is used for configuring type safe components or properties. What is meant by type safe component? For example, we will see one situation. Situation is nothing but we are fetching data from API. We are fetching data from an API. When we are fetching data from API, what is the point here is the data that we are fetching, we are not sure what type of data is going to come. That means actually it returns data. And data type is unknown. That means we don't know what type of data is going to come. Whatever data comes, we have to store in a suppose variable. We want to store the data in a variable. Now, what should be the data type of variable? We are expecting data from some location and we don't know what type of data is going to come. Then what should be the data type? If we are not sure what type of data is going to come, then what should be the data type? The data type of that variable will be any. Can I put any? Because any is the default type. We can put any. That means we are expecting some data and we don't know what type of data is going to come. Then we are making the data type as what? Any. So when you make the data type as any, now in this data, I can store a number, and in this data, I can store a string, and in this data, I can store a boolean. That means it allows you to store anything now because you mentioned data type as any. But once the data comes to us, we know that the incoming data is a number. We know that number came. We are expecting data. Initially, we don't know. So we mentioned data type as what? Any, so that it can handle any type of data. When I mention data type as any, it is going to allow any type of data. Once data came and its data type is number. So now we know data type. What is the data type? Data type is number. Will it allow string and booleans also? Already we know the data type is number now. Then if you make the data type as any, will it allow number and string also? It will allow. I told you type inference is possible at the time of initialization. Assignment, you can assign any type of value. That means a number is assigned, later a string is assigned, or a boolean is assigned, it is working. But it should not be like that. What is my requirement? First allow any type. And once you know the type, you don't allow another type. Point understood? Allow any type. Once you know the type, don't allow other types. Allow only the type that you have received. That means you need to design memory in such a way. Memory should be available to accept any type of data. Once the data type is known, it should not allow others. That means it is open for any type, but it is strongly typed. If you just mark as any, then what will happen? It is open for any type, stores any type. But it should be open for any type, but it should store only one type. It should restrict only specific type. Once it knows the type, it should not allow another. For example, do you know, I explained you, if you remembered, when we learnt about array constructor, what type of value is allowed to initialize? What type of value is allowed to initialize? Any type of value you can initialize, but according to the first data type, all should be same. If first type is number, all will be number. If first is string, all must be string. How it is possible? How you design a method in such a way that a method can take any type of value. Once it takes the type, it should not allow other type. It should work only for that type. That means how array constructor is working like that. How array have that behavior that it can take any type, but it will not allow all types. It can take any type, but it will not allow all types. If first value is number, then all should be number. That means initially it is open for any type, but it is strongly typed. How this is possible? That is the nature of generics. Generic can make that happen. Generic allows you to handle any type. Once you know the type, it can be strongly typed. That means it is open for any type and it is strongly typed. Both nature, can be achieved by using what? Generics. Actually, that is one live example of generic. Array constructor is designed in such a way that it is allowed to take any type. Once know the type, it will not allow other types. That is the nature of what? Generics. So, what is the concept of generic? It is open to handle any type of data. And makes it strongly typed. Once it knows the data type of value, it is open to handle any type of data and makes it strongly typed once it knows the data type of value. The data type of value. That is the concept of generic. And in TypeScript, what you can make as a generic. So TypeScript allows generic method, generic function, generic parameter, generic class, generic property. All are allowed as generic. That means what can be generic? A method can be generic. A function can be generic. A parameter is generic. Class can be generic. A property can be generic. That is the concept of generic. Let's see how these work. For example, what we are doing is generic is type safe. So I will show here. Yeah. So how generic can work? So how generic can make the type safe options? For example, I'm creating one function. This function is a print function. And this print function is expecting a parameter. And I want to design this parameter in such a way that it should able to handle any type of data. Then if I make the data type as any, then it will allow once one type, later it will allow another type. That means if I make this data type as any type, so if this data type is made as any type and its return is what? Void. That means now what is the point? Into the print, we can pass a number. Into the print, we can pass a string. It allows anything. But I don't want like that. I want to design in such a way that it is open for any type. Once it knows the type, it should not allow other type. Then we can make this as generic. Generic types are defined in an angle bracket. In an angle bracket, you have to define the type. That T is just a reference for data type. You can use any word, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, anything. Just T is a reference to tell that it is data type. People can write it as anything. It can be XYZ, anything. So people have an habit of writing type. People have an habit of writing T. T is good, but you can use anything, XYZ, ABC, anything, because it is just a reference of data type. That means you are saying that now print method is expecting a type to mention before it is used. Once you mention the type, the parameter should handle the same type. It should handle the same type. Then console.log temporarily, I am printing that parameter. Param is equal to whatever parameter is that. Now, what happens here, whenever I use print, into that I mention the data type now. Data type is suppose number. Automatically, now it becomes number. Now parameter is only number. You cannot add any another type. That means print is a method which is open for any type. Once you tell the type, it will not allow other types. That means I used some 30. That is fine. Next time when I am using print, I will say string. Then automatically it becomes a string type. That means you need to pass only a string. Next time I will make it as a string type array. Then automatically now it is expecting an array. That means it is open for any type. It can handle any type. But once it knows the type, it will not allow any another type. Suppose if I try to store a number, it is invalid. I try to store a string, it is invalid. I have to store a array. Array of not number types. Array of only string types. Array of only string types. That means you designed a method in such a way that it can handle any type. Once it knows the type, it can work for only that particular type. Before knowing the type, it is open for any type. Once it knows the type, it will not allow any another type. This type can be defined for multiple parameters, not only one. This parameter 1, this parameter 2, it is also same type. Any number of parameters you can define. So what is the concept of generic? The concept of generic is keep memory open for any type, allow any type of data to come. Once the data comes, now fix for that particular type. Don't allow any another type. What is advantage? You can have a memory in such a way that it can handle any kind of data. At the same time, it will not allow other types. How that is possible? By using generic. In real time, some examples where they are used, I will show you. One example I will show you. For example, this is the generic. Actually, how do we configure generic? Generic type is defined by using type reference. By using a type reference. By using a type reference. So syntactically, we have a function, function name, and a type. And parameter type. If you want, it can have a return type also same. So it should return the same parameter or expression. Anything we can define. With return, without return, even it can have a return type also. So, as I told you, generic is not only for a function, generic is for properties, generic is for classes. You can make anything generic. A property can be generic, a parameter can be generic, a class can be generic. Let's see, for example, I will copy this first. Okay, let's see one example in reality where developers need them. Suppose we are developing one application. When we are developing an application, for example, you are developing an application in Java or .NET or using some node server side. Now you need to communicate, this application needs some data. Application needs data. Usually data come from where? Database. Now tell me which database your application have to use. Oracle, MySQL, MongoDB, which database your application have to use. There is no restriction about database. Any application can use any database. Some Java applications use Oracle, some Java applications use MongoDB, MySQL, SQL Server, anything. Depending on the project requirement, they use different databases. Now, in such case, we are not sure which database we are going to use. Then for Java developer, we need to provide one class. This class should able to connect with a database. That means you have database classes. Generally, every technology have database drivers. Every software technology have database drivers. These drivers are used for connecting with database. Java, .NET, everybody needs these drivers. Now I want to design a driver class in such a way that so it can connect with any database. It can connect with any database. That means I want a class in such a way which is ready for working with any database. But once it knows the database as Oracle, it should not work for others. It should work only for Oracle. Now, will you create separate classes? One class for Oracle, one class for MySQL, one class for MongoDB. Actually, we have like that. In your Java, there is no single library which can communicate with all databases. For every database, a separate driver library is required. In Node.js, in Java, in .NET, they need different providers. That means for every provider, they have separate classes. Oracle classes are separate. MySQL classes are separate. MongoDB classes are separate. No technology in the world is having one class which can communicate with all. For everyone, separate drivers are present, separate classes are present, because it is difficult to design a class in such a way that which can manage communication with any database. That's very difficult. That's the reason even today technologies have individual database classes. But some databases together can be managed with one class. For example, non-SQL family, SQL family, such databases are there. Such databases can be managed by using one class. But majority of technologies don't have a class in such a way that they can work for all databases. For every database, separate class. But what is good if you can design a class in such a way that it can work for any database? Once it start working for a database, it should not work for others. How you can design like that? A class is open for anyone. Once it knows the database, it should not allow others now. you said that connect with Oracle. Now it should accept only Oracle queries. It should not allow others. How you design a class in such a way? You can do that. See, I am using an interface I Oracle. Okay. To connect with Oracle, actually it requires user name. Username is a string type. It needs a password. Password is also a string type. It needs some database name. Database is also a string type. That means to connect with Oracle, I need username, password, and database. Okay. Interface, I MongoDB. To connect with MongoDB, it needs an URL only. It is a string type. MongoDB just uses an URL to connect. That means now we have two different databases. One Oracle, another one is MongoDB. They have different connections. This connection string is different, Oracle connection string is different, and MongoDB connection string is different. Now I am designing a class called database. And I want this class to handle any kind of database. Then I will make it as generic. That means a class can be generic. And once a class is generic, what I will do is, in this class, I will declare a connection string. Connection string. This connection string will be of the same generic type. It is of same generic type. But it is showing error. Error is reasonable. Why? Because generic type means it is unknown with data type. It is saying that if I am unknown with data type, what else I am expecting? What else I am expecting? Either type or null. Or it can be like type as or what? Undefined. Undefined means it is not defined with any value. Null means dynamical if you are expecting. Statically you are expecting, then you mark it as what? Undefined. This is union of types, we know already. That means before the type is known, what is its type? Before the type is known, what is its type? Undefined. Or what is its type? It is what type? Any. But any is not good, because if type is not known, by default it will mark it as what? Undefined. Undefined. Okay. Now in the database class, we have a connection string which will be changing according to which database you are going to connect. And I need to print the connection. So we have a public print method. This print method have a void method, and it should print void, and it should print the connection string. Connection string I am expecting like an object, key and value. So what we are doing, so we will use a for var property in connection string. This dot connection string console.log. So we are going to print console.log. We are going to print the property, and we are going to print. So we are going to print this dot connection string of property. That means it is going to print the property and its value. You know, this is a simple logic of accessing keys and values from a object. And I return that logic and we are printing. Now this database class is designed in such a way that it can handle any kind of database. Let's see how it will work. I am creating an Oracle object, and I am using the database class. I want this class to now work for only Oracle. I want this because currently my application is dealing with Oracle. I want this class to work for only Oracle. Then I can make it strongly typed as I Oracle type. If I make it strongly typed as I Oracle type, that means now all the generic members inside this class will become Oracle type. The properties will become Oracle type. The methods will become Oracle type. The constructor will become Oracle type. Now you see here, we are using we are using Oracle. Oracle have a connection string, dot connection string, and see the data type of this connection string. Connection string data type is Oracle type. It is Oracle type. That means you have to pass only Oracle values into this. What are the Oracle values it is expecting? Oracle values it is expecting, what are those? Suppose I am using URL, it is not allowed because Oracle requires what? Username. Some Scott like this. So we have password, some tiger like this. It is expecting one more. What is it? Database. Suppose STU, something like this. Now Oracle have to print the connection. It should work for that connection. Now the same thing, what I am doing is I am creating a MongoDB class, new database. Into that I will pass iMongoDB. Now this time this MongoDB object connection string will be MongoDB type. It is a MongoDB type connection. Now it is working only for MongoDB. That means it is expecting not username. It is expecting only what? URL. And you need to pass the URL. So MongoDB : /127.001 : 2701. That is the connection string of MongoDB. So MongoDB.print, it is going to work. Now you designed a class and its properties in such a way that they work only for a specific database. But they are designed for which database? They are open for any database. But once you mention the database, it will not allow any another. This is the nature of generic. It avoids creation of multiple sets of classes and members to do similar type of work. I need to do similar type of work, that is connecting with database, but I am not sure which database. Then for every database, I need a class. Instead of that, create only one class which can work for all. That is the nature of generic. Now you can see it works fine as it is. So this is TSC index.ts and node index.js, and it is going to print those details. That means it is printing username database. It is printing the URL for MongoDB. So that means now you designed a generic class. And this is not only for, I just given one example. You can handle for any type. For example, see, this is an example of generic class and property. How you define a generic class and property. For example, I will take another concept here. Suppose we are designing a class called fetch data. This class have to connect with an API, get the data from API, and use the data coming from API. With which API? You remembered, you learnt about fetch. Fetch is there in JavaScript. And from which API it can fetch? It can fetch from any API. And do you know this is having a then method with the response? Am I right? And it is having another then method with the data. Because first response will convert the data into JSON. Now the question is, if there is a fetch method, this fetch method is open for any kind of API. Once it knows the API, this response data becomes the type. Suppose this API is returning products, then data becomes product type. If it is some categories, it becomes categories type. It is some employees, it becomes employee type. Am I right? That means you are getting products data into this fetch method. Then automatically data becomes, this then method becomes that product type. It will not allow any another type. That is the reason, even you do a mistake in accessing it. Suppose here it is expecting array of products. Then automatically this becomes array of products. That means depending on what data is coming, how this is changing its data type, how the then method is changing its data type. That means for every API, different API method is not there. Only one method is there which is working for all APIs. And once it is fetching data from an API, then method will work only for that API. How they are designed? They are all generic. They are all generics. So generic is possible anywhere. For example, I will give here a public, a response function. This response function is expecting data. The data type is unknown. This response should be in such a way that it should be able to access any type and it should work for only that particular type. Then what we do here, I will make the fetch data as generic. I will make the method as generic. I will make the data as generic. I will make the data as generic. That means the method is generic and the parameter is generic. Now, what is the point here? So we will write a simple logic to access the data inside. How do we access the data? That means I will show you the point here. So we are expecting some data, just we will print the data temporarily. Console.log, whatever data comes, we will print it roughly. So see what is happening now. We are having an interface called iProduct. And it is having a name, which is a string type, and a price, which is a number type. We are having another interface like iEmployee. It is having like first name, string type. It is having last name, that is also string type. Some designation, so that is also string type. Like this we are having. Now what is the point is, I am designing an object. Suppose I am designing a product. This product I am expecting, say, a new fetch data. And what is the type of data I am expecting? I am expecting iProduct type. Then automatically this product have a method called response. This response, you can see it is unknown data. Now we will make this response also what type? iProduct type. Then automatically it is expecting a product type data. And how many products it is expecting? Only one product. So we will pass one product. What is the product should have? It should have a name and it should have a price. So that is how we configured. That means the class is product type and the method is also product type. Now I will do one thing. Actually, this response itself is printing. Second time, I am expecting a collection of products. Then what I will do? I will use product dot response. I will use product dot response. I will make it iProduct. I will make it iProduct array type. iProduct array type. That means this time it is expecting multiple products. That means it is expecting an array of products. So the name is mobile. So some price is some price. And we have another one. The name is some watch. And the price is some price. Like this we are configuring. That's how we can design. That is the reason, You saw the APIs, fake store, when we are using fetch or when we are using Axios. Axios is having response.data. That means how Axios is working, if you remember, Axios, how it is working. Axios is expecting dot get method, it is expecting URL. Suppose if URL is using, suppose products/1, that means it is returning how many? Only one. Automatically the then function is working with the data, am I right? Response. This response is receiving only one product. But if it is products, then response is receiving not one product, it is receiving what? Array. Depending on what data type is coming, automatically this is changing. And if an array is coming, automatically it fixes as array. Now, can you use it like an object? You cannot use it like an object. For example, products of 1, then response data is coming. You are using response.map. You are using response.data. What? Map. This map is invalid on one product. This map is valid when there is an array. How this data is knowing that it is only one or it is many? How it is designed in such a way that one time it will accept one, another time it can accept many. That means the data is designed in such a way, data memory is designed in such a way that it is open for any type and it can handle all types. That means one time it is expecting one product, another time it is expecting multiple products, and later EMP is equal to new fetch data, and you can make it as I employee type. Then what happens? EMP dot response, it uses an I employee type, and this time only employee type data. If I want many employees, employee type array, this time it is an array of employees. That means only one class and one method can work for everyone. For everyone, you don't need to design separate methods, separate classes. You can design in such a way that they can work for everyone. That is the nature of generic. Actually, till now in your React, you used a use state. Use state can take any type of data. Once you tell the data type, it is fixed only for that type. That is generic actually. Use state is internally what type? Generic type. That is how it is working. That means use state, which type of data you can store? Any type of data you can store. But once you tell the type, it will not allow other types. That means it is a generic. You can see that. For example, see, however, this is working fine. That means I will run this and you design the generic. First time it is receiving one product, next time it is retrieving multiple. It is designed in such a way that it can handle all, right? This is example. I will show you. Actually, this is another example of generic. I will show you where is our React project. Huh? Suppose let's open any React application that we have. Okay, in this React application, wherever we are using some state, so many components are there. In any component, suppose we are using some state, right click on the state and go to definition. That means I want to know how state is designed. Right click on the state and go to definition. So you see state is coming from this use state. Right click on use state, go to definition. You see use state is a generic type. It is a generic type. It is a generic type function because you know that every hook is a function. And this is a generic function. That means your entire React is designed using TypeScript language. You are using React with JavaScript, but React is actually designed with TypeScript. That is the ability of TypeScript I told you. Even Angular is designed with TypeScript. Angular is not just using TypeScript, it is designed with TypeScript. That means the language itself, the technology itself is designed with TypeScript language. So your JavaScript based technologies, majority all technologies are designed with TypeScript. That means it is internally a TypeScript hook you are using in JavaScript. So technically you see it is a function and it is a generic type. I told you generic type can use any word A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Here they are mentioning the type as state, and you see the parameter type is state, and you see it is using some function also, and its return type is a state type. I told you function parameter, function return type can be generic. They are actually generic type. In future when you are using React TypeScript, when you create a state, this time you have to create like a generic. Earlier you don't need to write like generic, it is internally generic. Now in TypeScript we have an habit of writing use state as generic. That means how do we write use state? In TypeScript we write like this: use state, generic type, you mention a number, then automatically it will handle only number. So if you are expecting use state as products, that means you use I products, that is an interface array, then automatically product array, then this time it is expecting array of products. That means now your use state becomes a generic type. Actually it is a generic type. So that is the reason it has such behavior. That is the behavior. So what can be generic? A function can be generic, method can be generic, property can be generic, class can be generic, parameter can be generic. All can be generic. Actually, generics constructors also supported, but in TypeScript it is not supported. Generally, the languages that use generic, they support a generic constructor. But in TypeScript, especially when we use with JavaScript based technology, because constructor is anonymous, they don't have a name, you cannot have a generic constructor. But you can have a constructor with a generic parameter, but you cannot have a generic constructor. In majority of programming languages that support generic, they support generic constructor. That means how you can write? You can write a constructor because they have a name. Constructor, you know, Java, .NET, other technologies, constructor have a class name. Na? They make it as generic. That means even constructor becomes generic. But here it is not possible because in JavaScript constructor is anonymous. You cannot make it generic. Constructor don't have a name, so you cannot have a generic constructor. It is possible in other languages, but here it is not possible, right? We cannot have generic constructor. But this is one important thing to understand. One more concept is that what is the point is you cannot use operators on generic types. It is generics are always handled by using methods or functions. Are always handled using methods or functions. For example, you designed a function. So add is a function. Its type. A is of the type. B is also of the type. And what you are doing here, you define the return type. And what you are returning, A plus B. Like this you are returning. This is invalid. That means you cannot have an operator on generic type. A and B are generic. A and B are generic means what type of data they can have? A and B are generic means what type of data they can have? Any type of data we don't know. Then how you will tell a operator? Operator can give data? No. Then how you can write an operator? You cannot write an operator. Greater than, less than, equal. You can't use operators. Why? Because you don't know the type. Then how you will operate it? Then how do you manage addition or subtraction or multiplication or comparison? How do we manage operations on the data, generic types? That generally what we do is, you see here, suppose we have a function. Addition is a function. It's a generic type function. A is generic, B is also generic. Return type is also generic. That means now it should return. And A plus B I am using. It is invalid. Why it is invalid? Because you don't know the type. Then how you can manage the type? That means cannot be applied. Operator cannot be applied on types which are generic. It is not about just plus. Any operator cannot be applied. Suppose I am using a comparison operator. That's also not allowed. Why? Why it is not allowed? Because type is not known. How you will return a boolean? This returns a boolean. Right? That is not possible. So then how do we manage this? How do we manage is simple. Suppose now we will create one function sum. This function will take A and B, and what it will do, it will return A plus B. And here they should be any type. They should be able to handle any type. Now sum function is designed in such a way that they can take your values, they can do an operation and return it. Now this return have to use the sum function which will take your A and B values and it can manage. That means you cannot directly use an operator on them. You have to handle through a function. That means you pass these to another function. That function will take these values, convert them to any type, and they will calculate and return it. Directly, you cannot do any operations on generics. You cannot do any operation on generic. This is fine. That means now you are using console.log and suppose I am using addition. So addition is equal to, we call addition function. Its generic type is number. Then automatically A and B are numbers. Suppose 40 and 20, then it is going to handle. Suppose you make it as a string, then still sum can work. Why? Because string can use plus operator for concatenation. It will allow you to concat the values. So technically now when I run this, so it is going to print the addition and it is going to display the result. It is going to show the result. So you cannot use operators. You have to manage everything through function zone. Directly operators are not allowed on generic type. Why? Because they are unknown with data type. You cannot use any operator. Operators are used only on the type whose data type is known, predictable types, right? So this is example. This is an example for that. That means how do you handle generics, right? So as I already told you, we are using TypeScript for our React, Angular like technologies for only web development. But TypeScript individually is a large language. We can build large scale applications by using what? TypeScript. I told you in the beginning itself. Generally, people who learn generics as a concept in any programming language individually, it is about 1 week, 10 days class on generic. It's a huge concept. You learnt generics just for your React or for your Angular. This knowledge is enough for React or Angular, but not enough for individually using a language for building apps, because generic is a huge concept. Suppose in .NET or Java like technologies, when they teach about this kind of concept, it takes at least 1 week time to understand and work with all concepts of generic. It is a 1 week, 10 days session on generics actually. It's a huge advanced concept used in modern technologies these days. It's a very big concept, right? So here you are using TypeScript generics just to handle the issues with your React and Angular. Like, so I already told you we are using for web. And for web, what is necessary, you learned. That means how to write generic functions, how to write generic methods, how to write generic classes, how to define generic properties, how to use generic parameters. These are the points you need to understand, and how to handle operations on them. That is the key concept of generic, right? Next important, after understanding generics, after the concept of generics, so we have another important thing to understand: enumeration. Enumeration. So we generally call this as an enum. Enumeration. These enumerations are also very important. For example, if anybody asked you, like, tell me an example of any real-time enumeration. Actually, enumeration is a collection of constant values. It is a collection of constant values. What is the meaning of constant values? At the time of starting, what value you mentioned, till end, it will be the same. So to define a set of constant values, we generally use enums. A set of constants. It can be numeric constant, it can be string constant, or it can be an expression constant. Expression also can be a enum. Actually, many times we have seen people saying enum is a collection of numeric constants. That is wrong. Enum can be a collection of string constants, numeric constants, or expression. That means if anyone asks, tell me one real-time example where we use these enums, where we can see these enums in our programming. Means a value at the time of starting should be fixed. Till the end, it should be the same. It cannot be changed. The allocation for a value, it will be fixed. It cannot be used for any others. For example, one best example is, suppose you have status codes. In status codes, you have status codes. What are the status codes? 200. It is fixed for OK. 404. It is fixed for what? Not found. Now, can you change 404 with a different value? Different message? No chance. Fixed. At the time of start of application, these constants are fixed. 200 means okay, 404 means not found. You cannot change them. You cannot change them. So these are enums. These are enums. For example, you have HTTP verbs. HTTP verbs are nothing but get, post, put, delete. These are also enums, because they have fixed value, fixed functionality. They don't change. Put is always for modifying, delete is always for removing, post is always for submitting and saving. You can't change them. They are fixed. These are all constants actually. These are all constants, a set of constants. So enum is actually, it is a collection. It is a collection of constants. It is a collection of constants. It is a collection of constants. Enum can have a numeric, string, or expression as constant. So it cannot have Boolean value or expression as constant. You can have constant expressions, but that expression should not be a Boolean. If anyone asks you why I cannot have a Boolean expression or a Boolean value as constant, why we cannot have Boolean expressions, Boolean values as constants? Because naturally Booleans itself, they are not constant. Because Boolean will change with true or false. They are not constants. How you can use them as constant? That means number is a constant type. String is a constant type, but Boolean is not a constant type. Then how you use it as a constant? It's not possible. That means you cannot have a non-constant type as constant. That's not possible. Boolean is a non-constant because it will change with true or false. So technically you can have these numeric constants, string constant, expression. Any expression that returns number, any expression that returns string can be used. In some interviews, we have seen people asking like in a enum, which operator is not allowed? In an enum, any operator that returns Boolean is not allowed. That means greater than, less than, not equal, equal. They are not allowed. Why? Because they are written a Boolean. Any operator that does return a Boolean value, they are not allowed. Not allowed. And what is the speciality is that means in interviews they ask like, okay, you want constant, then constant values is equal to, you can declare like this. Why to use an enum? You are saying that enum is a constant. Why to use an enum? This is good now. It is a collection array. Array means it is a collection. Collection of what? Constants. Then why you need an enum? Because a constant values array, that is a collection of constants. Then this is okay. Then why you need an enum as a constant? Because one of the major advantages of enum is enum allows auto implementation of values. Auto implementation of values if the type is number. If the type is number. Auto implementation of values. That means you don't need to declare a constant value. It will take automatically. If a constant value is not defined, automatically it will take a constant value. It will take a constant value. And this is only for number. If a number type enum is there, then it have auto implementation of values. Means what? For example, here we are creating enum and enum name. Suppose status codes. That is an enum. In that, one value is, for example, like OK is equal to 200. That is a value stored in OK. OK is a key. In the 200 is an value. OK. Next, what we are doing is we are defining, suppose, found, and I'm not giving a value. Not found, not found. I'm giving 404, 404 as value. Now, what is the value of found? Automatically it takes 201. Based on the previous value, it will increment the value by 1 and it will automatically set it as found. What is the advantage of a constant? So any missing value is automatically implemented based on the previous. In a sequential order, it implements. That means now the found value is 201, 201. And this is possible only if the enum contains numbers. Right? Enum can have number and symbol, number and string combination. Both can be there, but the previous must be a number for using auto implementation. For example, you see enum is not just a similar type of constant. It can have different. For example, I'm using like server, and here I put a string. So internal server error, something like this I am giving. And after that, I am giving like client, and I am not keeping any value. It is error now. Why? Because the previous is a string, and string cannot have auto implementation, only number. Only number can have auto implementation. Now, for example, if I move this before here, what is it? It will be 405. It will be 405. If I move this here, then what is it? Obviously, it is 0 because index starts with 0. That means the first value, there is no previous value, then the first value starts with 0. That means client is 0. It is 0. That means it can have numeric constants, it can have string constants. Once they are defined, you cannot change them. Right? So that is the main advantage. Then how do we use it? Console.log. How to access status codes dot the name, the keys. So what is the key? Not found. It is going to get 404 and return. And remember here, one important. So how do you define enum syntactically? Enum is having values. Enum is having values. Suppose A and suppose B is equal to 20 and the C. It is configured like this. That means A will be how much? A equal to 0. And the C is how much? C is equal to 21. It is going to set the values. So values dot A. So values dot A equal to 20. This is invalid. Why? Constant will not allow any assignment. You can just only access it. You cannot assign a new value into it. So constants can have auto implementation if they are numeric type. So auto implementation is allowed only when the previous value type is a number. The previous value type is a number. So what is the point? Another here is enum allows reverse mapping. Reverse mapping is nothing but it is a technique. It is a technique of accessing key with reference of value. Generally, we access a value with reference of key, but you can access a value, you can access a key with reference of value. That is called reverse mapping. So these are all interview questions actually. So these days for React Angular people in interviews, lot of questions will be 50%, 60% their interview will be JavaScript, TypeScript only. In JavaScript topics, TypeScript. Angular people means complete TypeScript only because their primary language is TypeScript. So for React, you will face lot of questions on JavaScript and TypeScript. So because if they try to ask anything related to React, it is easy to answer because these are after all libraries and frameworks. You don't have much to ask here. We know everything. So that means a React developer can crack React related all questions. Any fresher can handle all React questions, all Angular questions, but they face problem in JavaScript and TypeScript. That means they fail in JavaScript, TypeScript part only. Because library framework, after all, nothing. Anybody can remember the fixed set of questions. There is no complication in that, right? But language is complicated because in a language there is various consequences to ask. So there are various ways to ask in a language. That is where people fail actually. So what is reverse mapping? Reverse mapping is a technique that allows you to access the keys with reference of values. That means how do we do that? Suppose status code not found is returning what? Let's keep here. I am using like this. So dynamic expression. First, I want to return the number. Then what we have to do? Status codes dot not found. It will return the number. After that, I want to return the key. How to return the key? Status codes. Status codes of 404 value. It will return the key. That means by passing a value into the reference, you can get its key. Its key. By passing the key, we can get the value. But by passing the value, you can get the key. That is what reverse mapping is. That means it allows you to handle that. I will compile this. I will run this. It is going to return. This is returning value. This is returning the key. That is what actually reverse mapping, how the reverse mapping works. Huh? This is enum reverse mapping. That is enum reverse map. So how you define, and as I told you, enum can have collection of constant, and the collection of constant can be an expression. That means you see here A is equal to 10, B is equal to 20, C is equal to A plus B. You can have an expression also as constant. But this expression cannot be a Boolean expression. Any addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, anything is allowed, which returns a number or a string. But anything which is returning a Boolean is not allowed. Not allowed. Anything returning a Boolean is not allowed. So only a numeric or string type is allowed. That means console.log, you can have an expression addition is equal to what is it? The enum status codes.c. It is going to get that and display. I will compile and run this. It is going to get that and display that. So enum have a collection of constant numbers, constant string type, and constant expressions. Right? That is important. These are all important concepts you need to know about generic and enums. How do we define an enum and how do we use generic? Okay. Next, after understanding this module system, already we know. I clearly explained about module system to you. You know already JavaScript module systems, import, export. So how you use the module. What is the purpose of module system? Module system enables separation, reusability, extensibility. Everything can be achieved using module system. And JavaScript, you learned modules, how to export, how to import and use them. TypeScript supports the module system. And default, it will have an ES module system. If there is an ES and common module systems, directly we can use import and export. If there is different module system, you have to use what? You have to use the require method. This require method is used for common JS. Common JS. Actually, in our TypeScript, you see project tsconfig. Common JS module is there. Common JS module. It will allow to use require. You can use require, or you can directly use import export also. So generally JavaScript will teach you already module system. We already discussed that while working with our React also. Export a function, import a function and use. What a module contains? A module, actually in JavaScript, a module contains a class or a variable. But in TypeScript, a module can have a contract, it can have a template, or it can have a component. Means classes, abstract classes, or interfaces. We can reuse them any place. We can import and export them and use them from any place. How the module system works? Simple. I will show you here. Actually, module system is a module system allows enables features like separation, code reusability, extensibility, maintainability, and testability. So TypeScript uses common JS module system. So a TypeScript module comprises of contracts, templates, components, functions, values. All these can be there in a TypeScript module. So how to build everything using a module system? By using import and export, you can do that. That means in a large scale environment, how you build the libraries. For example, suppose our previous application you can design in the module system. Suppose previous example, let's say we are having a, in this project, we are having a new folder called contracts. We are having a folder called contracts and another folder called templates. So templates and another folder called components. We have 3 folders and we have another folder called app. App is a folder. Rest of these I will delete. Okay. So these two I will delete. Okay. Now we have the templates, the contracts, and the components. Let's go to contracts and add a new contract called product contract.ts. In this, we are creating an interface as product contract. Okay. And it is having a name and a price, string, number, and quantity is number, and the total is a number, and print is an void. So this is a contract, and I want to access anywhere. Then I have to mark it as what? Export. So this is a contract defined to export. Okay, next we will go to templates and add a new product template. Product template.ts. Here I want to use that contract. Then what we have to do? Import. What is the contract name? Product contract. We have to import from contracts. Now here what we are doing, export abstract class. What is the class name? Class. Class is what? Product template. What this will do? This is going to implement product contract because it is a rule now. Now what we are doing here, public. So name, it is what type? String type. It is empty. We have public. So price, it is number type. That is a number. Public and quantity, that is a number type, empty. And public abstract, we have a member called total. Total is a method. It is a number type because its functionality is not under our control. So public abstract print is another method which is an void type. So some features we implemented, some we left for implementation. This is a template you are having. Now we will go to components. In components, we are creating a product component dot what ts. Here we are importing which one? Product template. Product template we are importing. Now we are creating export class. Which one? This is product component. This component extends which one? Product template. The template will hide the structure. You have to just use the features. Name is some name. So price is some price. And quantity is some quantity. Total we have to implement now. What it should return? This dot quantity into what? This dot price. And we need to implement print also. Print is a void type, console.log. It should print all the details. So name is this dot name, and price is this dot price, and quantity is this dot quantity, and total is equal to this dot total. We have to print all the data. Now the component is ready. We want to use this in our app. In our app, we have a file index.what.ts. Here we have to import which one? Product component. And we have to create an object TV is equal to new product component. Through the TV, we access the print. That means in your project, you will have only this code. But all this is coming from a big library. All are having dependencies. That means in your application, you will use a component, but component is derived from a template. Template is derived from a contract. Now your application looks simple, but actually it have a lot of dependencies. This is the nature of module system. It allows you to import only what is needed and use only what is required for that situation. Now, when I compile this, interestingly, you see now, actually, it follows a dependency injection mechanism. You see, all these files are not compiled now. all these files are not compiled. Just you run the index one, cd app, where it is present tsc index dot what ts. It uses a dependency injection mechanism, identifies what are the dependencies required, and it will compile all the dependencies and run them. That means you see all files JavaScript is generated. That means in contracts it is generated, in templates it is generated. You just need to compile only one file. It will compile all the dependencies. Now you need to just run, what is it, node index dot what js. It is going to run and execute all of them. That means nothing but already what we learned earlier. Earlier everything we kept in one file. Now you are separating into different files. This is good for separation, reusability, easy extensibility. So that is the module system. But actually TypeScript have more higher than module system. It calls as namespace. And what is that namespace and how the namespace is used, you have to learn. That we'll see in next session. This example I will give you. In tomorrow's session, we will discuss about namespace. Namespace is a simple one. We will finish the namespace, and tomorrow itself, we will learn how to design a React application with TypeScript as a language. This time, we are going to build our app using White or Next.js like frameworks. That means we are going to add production level frameworks. Earlier, we created only a simple app without production grade frameworks. Already I told you in the beginning, we can create React apps without frameworks, with the frameworks. React have frameworks like Next.js and all. So depending on which one is required for your situations, we will see how to build an app with the TypeScript as a language. Then you will get a clarity on production level frameworks, how to use them. Tomorrow we'll do that. Okay, right.